It's just over 24 hours now since the ceasefire took effect between Israel and Hezbollah. Here's the latest from Sky News UK.
Just hours after the ceasefire began in Lebanon and the displaced had taken to the roads with their possessions to head back to their villages in the south of the country. Under the deal, Hezbollah will move its heavy weapons north of the Litani River, whilst Israeli troops will withdraw from southern Lebanon entirely. But Israel is making clear it reserves the right to attack if there are breaches to the agreement.
Let's bring in Gerald Steinberg, Professor of Politics at Bar-ilan University in Israel. Good to speak to you again, Gerald. Tell me about the reaction, firstly, from the Israeli population to this ceasefire. Obviously, it's good news, but I imagine there wouldn't be any elation. You've all seen this movie so many times before.
Certainly have been through this before, and it didn't end well. Israel fought a war with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy. The Iranian goal is very clear. It is to wipe Israel off the earth. That hasn't changed. There's a ceasefire, a local ceasefire with Hezbollah in Lebanon. There's no peace framework at all. There's no negotiation with Iran, who's running all of this. Hezbollah had tremendous forces, tremendous in the sense of really very destructive forces. They were posed to do a raid attack against Israel much greater than Hamas did on October 7th, 2023. And we all saw the atrocities then. So it could be much, much worse if Hezbollah was allowed to do that. So Israel, the Israeli population, sees this as a victory. Hezbollah has been very much weakened. It can no longer do the type of attacks that it was planning to do, but it still maintains a lot of rockets, a lot of capability, and it's still playing the game of infiltrating its own forces, its terror forces, under the guise of civilians back into southern Lebanon. This truce may not last very long.
Well, there's a couple of things on this that really stand out to me. One is there's got to be some sanction against Iran or some guarantees from Iran. As you say, they've played no role in this, at least outwardly. But secondly, all of that area in the south of Lebanon has previously, under the United Nations Security Council resolution, supposed to have been cleared of Hamas by UN peacekeepers, if you like. Yet obviously they failed to do that. There were so many weapons and so much Hezbollah personnel and equipment there. We need to see a better effort, surely, from the UN to police southern Lebanon and make sure that Hezbollah don't move back in.
Most Israelis, and I think most of the people around the world who look at what's going on, including in Australia, have to see the United Nations as an entirely failed instrument. Yeah. You're absolutely right. In the end of the 2006 war, 18 years ago, there was an agreement that UNIFIL, United Nations international force, monitoring and ceasefire force, would prevent Hezbollah, according to UN Resolution 1701, from using southern Lebanon, the 40 kilometers north of the Israeli border, as a base for attacking Israel. That was totally unenforced. The French forces, the other European forces that were there, the Irish, Spanish, others, failed to do their job. They were intimidated by Hezbollah. Hezbollah said, if you don't let us do what we want to do, bring in the weapons so we can attack Israelis, then we're going to shoot you and we're going to attack you. So, of course, they just ignored the whole thing.
Pathetic.
They played like they didn't see anything. So this has got to change completely. And most Israelis are very skeptical that it's going to change. It's the same actors. It's the same international, what's called the international community. It's the same UN, which is blind to Iranian proxy forces using Lebanese territory, using Gaza, using Yemen, using other parts of the world to attack Israelis. The UN is a huge failure in many respects, and this is one of them.
Just briefly, at the other end of the country, is a surrender from Hamas any closer?
I don't think the term surrender is applicable here. Hamas has been greatly reduced in its capability, doesn't really have much of a leadership, but they're still holding approximately 100 Israeli hostages after something like 418 days. And can you imagine the terrible conditions that those hostages are being held in? And we don't know who's holding them. We don't know, and not publicly, and I don't think intelligence sources know. So there's got to be a fundamental change. And maybe the fact that Hezbollah has essentially dropped out of the war. Hezbollah said, we're going in to help our allies, Hamas, those terrorists in Gaza, and that was over a year ago. Hezbollah has dropped out. They've essentially been defeated by Israel, at least for now. is Hamas capable now of maintaining this war that they've had with Israel? And that's the question. So it's possible that we will start to see individual groups from the Hamas Gaza framework let some of their hostages released. That's the Israeli hope. That's what they're working on.
Yeah, that's the hope all around the world, surely. Thanks so much for joining us, Gerald. I appreciate it.